Hello, good morning. My name is Josue.
My name is Camille and Nemenzo.
And today we'll be making...
Sticky rolls topped with caramel glaze and almonds.
Okay, let's go! Here are the tools that we need in this baking session.
Okay, let's start. First, heat up the small saucepan into low heat. And when it's hot, add in the water and the milk. Then next with the flour, and you will now start mixing it using a heat-proof rubber scraper. After mixing for a while, it should have a consistency like this. It's like a gel. Now this is done. We turn off the heat and we set it aside on a container or a small bowl. Before making the dough, we are going to first add the yeast to the lukewarm milk and let it bloom for 10 minutes. Stir the yeast into the milk. Now set it aside to bloom. Now once that's done, we're going to take our mixing bowl and add in all the flour that we have. We are also going to be adding the iodized salt and the white sugar. Stir it well to combine them all together. Okay, now that 10 minutes is up, we are going to be adding our milk into the dough or the flour mixture. Once we add it in, we are also going to add in here the water. Mix it well using a rubber scraper. Once it becomes difficult to mix now, use your hands. Make sure to wash your hands before doing this. By this time, we are going to be adding 2 room temperature eggs. This must be room temperature. Now continue mixing and don't worry, this may look like it will never come together, but trust us, this will mix down. Now we are going to be adding our tangent. The tangent will help give texture into the bread. Once everything comes together, you may now put it into the working station. Now, keep working the dough out, and don't be scared, this will come together and become smooth. Now, finally, this dough is starting to get into its shape. Continue to knead the dough until it becomes a bit more softer. Okay, now that you have kneaded the dough well, we're now going to be adding the butter. First, 1 tablespoon in. Fold it to itself and keep mixing it together and kneading. Now for the second time. And lastly, add in the rest of your butter into the dough. Sometimes the dough will be completely wet and it may look like it is now broken down, but don't worry, it is still good and it would just come together if we just continue kneading it. You don't have to add any flour or any solid into it. Now, we are going to be kneading this dough until it has the consistency that we need for this bread. Now that we have the right stretchiness that we need for this bread, we're now going to shape it into a round ball. We are going to set it aside and we are going to take our mixing bowl and we are going to apply butter all around it. Use the rubber scraper to make your job easier. Now that the mixing bowl has now been covered with butter, we're going to plop in our big boy dough and we're going to apply some butter on top of it so that it won't stick with the cling wrap. Now we're going to be putting cling wrap on top of it and we're going to let it rest and ferment for 1 hour and 30 minutes. We're setting the timer for 1 hour and 30 minutes and we'll wait. Okay, now while our dough is fermenting, we're now going to start making our caramel glaze. Heat up a medium-sized saucepan into medium heat. Now once it's hot, we're going to add in the butter And then we're going to be adding our brown sugar and then our white sugar. Continue mixing it until it has a smooth consistency and there is no more butter chunks all around it. After mixing it until it is now a very good consistency, we're going to set this aside and we're going to work our dough as it finishes up. Okay, now that our dough is finished fermenting, we're gonna open it up, say hi, and punch it in the face. Now, kidding aside, punching actually helps take out the air out of the dough. And now we're going to lightly dust our working area with flour. And we're going to transfer our dough into that working area. Now lay it out into the working area and we're going to recycle our cling wrap and put it on top and let this dough rest for 10 minutes. Okay, while our dough is now resting, we're going to be mixing our ingredients needed for our filling, which are listed in the ingredients in the video. Use a spoon or a whisk to help mix out the filling. Okay, now 10 minutes is up and now we are going to be stretching out our dough into the working table and make a rectangle sized shape. Use the rolling pin to stretch the dough out. Okay, now that our dough has been fully stretched and with a rectangle, we're now going to add in our melted butter, which is not too hot so that we will not kill the yeast inside our dough, and we're going to spread it onto the sheet of dough. And yes, we are going to be using up all of the 70 grams of our melted butter. Okay, now we are finished spreading the butter. We are now going to add in our filling and putting it all over the top of our dough. Now that our dough has been completely covered with the filling, we are now going to roll it into itself slowly. And now we are going to be cutting it using a bread knife into 9 equal shaped dough. Now that we have finished making our dough, we are now going to be putting in our caramel glaze into our baking pan, and we are going to be spreading it all over. Now, once we have spread our caramel glaze, we're now going to be putting in our sliced almonds on top of it. Now that the almonds are there, we are going to be putting in our dough or our sticker rolls on top of the almonds. Once we have placed it onto the baking pan, we're now going to cover it again with baking sheet and let it proof for 45 minutes or 1 hour or until double in size. Okay. Now that it is finished proofing for 45 minutes, we are going to be preheating our oven for 50 minutes at 200 degrees Celsius, and we are going to be baking it. Place our sticker rolls in a preheated oven and let it cook in 180 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes. Now, once it's done, we are going to be taking heat-proof gloves or a clean towel, and we are going to be taking it out from the oven, and we are going to let it rest for 5 to 10 minutes onto the table. Once it's done, we are going to be flipping it over onto a baking sheet, and boom! We are done! Here is now our freshly made sticker rolls and caramel glaze topped with almonds. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed our video, and until next time, bye!